Yeah, we obviously good road win for our team down there at Hillsdale. That was their homecoming and also their day to recognize their seniors, and they had a strong senior class. That senior class was the winningest class in Hillsdale history since they made the move to Division II. So, obviously, I think kind of the story of the game was our offense and the proficiency that we had on the offensive side of the ball. You take away 3 plays, and we had a pretty convincing performance, but those 3 plays we got to get cleaned up. We had a fumble down inside, and we were basically going to score on our first drive, and we had another fumble inside the 5-yard line, and we had a drop pass on a third down. So if we would have converted those 3 plays, there would have been a potential that we would have scored on every possession, and probably more importantly scored touchdowns on those possessions. So our offensive line, in combination with our tight ends, did a real good job of handling Hillsdale's front, both their defensive line and their linebackers. Threw a lot of movements at us, and we're doing a lot of stunning on the defensive line, and I think that our offensive line was able to handle a lot of that movements. Our backs had good ball security. I thought both Mike Rattay and Kirk Spencer ran hard and continued to find the kind of the open spot where we were trying to attack them. So we had a big variety of different types of runs. We were hitting a lot of different spots within their defense, and so that was good to see that we were able to be pretty multiple there. And then we were proficient in the passing game. I thought Isaiah handled our offense very well, and we did a good job other than maybe the one drop. So defensively, there were some times we could have been a little bit better. We were not great on some of our run fits, especially on the first drive and here and there. But I think the one thing that, 2 things we did well. One, we never really gave up a big play, except for maybe one run that Glendenning had. We kept Glendenning in check for the most part. Never really gave up a big play in the passing game either. And so, most of the stuff that we made them, yards they gave up, we kind of kept the ball in front of us and make them earn it. Obviously, down the red zone, we had some turnovers and some stops that were huge. The first time when they had a 1st and goal situation, we held them to a field goal, was big. Especially, consequently, our offense taking that drive down and scoring to get into a 2-score lead even at halftime was big. The interception by Dana Dixon in the end zone, and then we had another stop on a 4th down, down backed up inside the 20. So came up with some stops down in the red zone, which was definitely helped us, and also came up with a couple punts in the first half that allowed us to get that lead. So having the 2-score lead heading into halftime, and then coming out with the ball in the second half and getting another touchdown and extending it to a 3-score lead was huge. At that point, we didn't really play any more man coverage, kept the ball in front of us and tried to make them earn it, and burned some clock in the process and kept scoring on the offensive side of the ball. So special teams wise, our 2 sophomore specialists, I thought did it very well. Marco Idarosa, we made all of our extra points against some heavy pressure, and then his kickoffs are good, even into the wind. I thought he had good hang time and good distance, which really helped our defense. And then Picano only had to punt once because of what our offense was doing, but I think he swung the field big on that one punt, over 50 yards on that punt. So those guys are continuing to improve and coming along, and don't get much recognition, but our long snapper Lucas Kozu and our 2 specialists did a nice job. So good to get out of there with the win. Obviously, it makes the game against Wayne State coming up here very relevant. Wayne State got in last year to the playoffs and made had a really good run of football and made it to the championship game where they fell to Pitt State. So this year they've had some really tight ball games. They lost an opener to Ashland, who's undefeated right now. They lost on the road to Saginaw Valley, and then Ferris State, after getting up 21-0, Ferris battled back and ended up beating them. So they're pretty close again to having a very solid record in the North Division. I think it's going to be a huge challenge for our offense. Their defense brings a lot of pressure. There's a lot of multiple looks. They do a very good job disguising a lot of their pressures, and it's going to be a pretty big variance from what we saw on Saturday. Saturday, Hillsdale lined up a little bit more base defense, did a little movement with their defensive line, but Wayne State's going to bring a lot of different blitzes and pressures and really come after our guys on the offensive side of the ball. So our ability to handle that in the run game and handle that in the passing game is going to put a large challenge on our offensive line this week. They play a lot of different guys up front and have some very active linebackers, and so that's probably the biggest challenge for our offense. Defensively, Tony Davis from Muskegon High School, they really leaned on him last year in their run to the championship game. He's a very solid back. And, they just don't turn the ball over much, and they have a downhill running attack with a big offensive line. They've got a couple really big fullbacks. They're just going to run right at you. So we're not out of the woods yet when it comes to our rush defense. We have made some improvements, but we're not quite the 85 Bears yet on that side of the ball. So we've got to do a good job this week of getting off the field so we can get our offense back on the field. And it's going to be a challenge that way. So looking forward to getting back to Lubber Stadium, and obviously this is a game that had means something at this time of year. So hopefully we can get another big crowd out. We've had some very good home atmosphere, some very home crowds. I'm looking forward to getting back here and getting our guys back out here and facing the challenge when Wayne State comes to town. So on the injury update, Hershey Jackson suffered an injury. He's going to have surgery, so he's done for the year. He didn't play on Saturday, so it's a rough deal for Hershey. He's had a really hard time with injuries. I feel bad for him. He's progressed a lot as a student, as a person, and as a player, and now he's back out again. So, that's another back that's done for the year. And I'm, just Mike and Kirk and Ben are going to continue to pick up the slack for losing Chris and Hershey, because those guys won't play for us again. Questions?
Defensively, you guys were very strong situationally, like you said, in the red zone, and in different situations throughout the game. How does that carry over to this week, where you've got a team that kind of has a similar offense in terms of a running game, and an older quarterback kind of knows how to hold the game together? Yeah,
I think you make a good point. There are some similarities between some of the things that Hillsdale does and Wayne State does, and I'm hoping that can help us. Seems like we talked about this as a defensive staff. We haven't had the same defensive lineup now for 8 games. We haven't had the same 11 guys out there. It's been quite a bit of, again, rotating different guys through. This week, Eric Thompson was playing corner, and just a lot of different things have happened. So we haven't had a lot of consistency in terms of defensive personnel. I'm hoping that we have consistency from last week to this week on personnel, and I do think there is going to be some carryover. Brady, you make a good point about schematically. We won't have to go from a fair state option to some other type of attack, and that I'm hoping there's carryover, and I'm hoping our players can use the experiences they had on Saturday and build off of those to move forward with Wayne State.
The past 2 weeks haven't been so bad defensively. You have been making some improvements. Can you, even with all the injuries and all the changes that you've done, what is it that's happened that's made it better?
Well, I think that there's a few things happen. Our defensive line, getting Matt Judon back, and again, I think you saw him have a little bit of an effect on the game. We have due to an injury to Ricky Thomas, we played Isaiah Dunning from Ravenna more, and he's been active and moving in there. And we've got a little bit better play out of Denzel Rogers, and we're getting Ryan Pettis back off an injury. I think we were having Luther Ware play both linebacker spots. We've settled him in to just pretty much playing the Mike linebacker. I think that's helped Luther. And then Sam Power has come back off an injury and has done well. We want to try to use Chuck Hill some too, but he broke his wrist in the Northwood game, and so he's cast it up and is a little bit limited with that wrist injury. Didn't really practice. So, probably our best lineup in there is Luther playing all the time and kind of using the combination of Power and Hill at that linebacker position. So, and then Brad Horing just keeps getting more experience under his belt and continues to play better as the season progresses. Because as you would expect from a freshman, he's very conscientious. He's a very competitive kid. He's very intelligent. He's learning as the season progresses. So I think it all starts up front. And some of those things I just talked about within the front seven of our defense are allowing us to play a little bit better than we had, obviously, early in the season. But we were coming from rock bottom, and so we're not quite there yet. I still look at the tape, and there's still some things we're making mistakes on that we should make mistakes on. So we got to keep coaching, and the players got to keep making adjustments. And we can still be better on that side of the ball. I'm convinced of it, and we need to be as we start to progress in these last few games.
Offensively, Wayne's a team that doesn't hurt themselves. They don't do a lot of penalties. They don't turn the ball over a lot. How do you kind of get your defense into a form where they can force turnovers and they can make a smart team kind of beat themselves in a way?
It is difficult. There's no doubt about it. I think that the easiest way to do that is to do a little bit what we did to Hillsdale. We were able to force Hillsdale to get into some third down situations, and the pick came on situation where we'd stop the run. They had to throw the ball. We got the interception. Then the other fumble that they had, Eric Thompson put a really good hit on the receiver in the passing game, put the ball on the ground. Luther Ware picked it up. And so I think that Wayne State is similar to Hillsdale in that they're not as comfortable in some of those third down situations, and we have to get them into those third down situations. But their backs have had great ball security. They've only fumbled 3 times on a year, and for as many times they've run the ball, they've only lost 3 fumbles, I should say, for the number of times they've run the ball, and that's very commendable. So you got to get them obviously into some situations where you force them to throw the ball a little more, and that's where you have more opportunities to turn the ball over. I just don't know if we're going to get, if they keep first, second down, keep moving the chains in order to give them third down, it's going to be very difficult, Brady, to get any turnovers in those type of situations.
And then talk about you mentioned Davis, and then there's the quarterback too. Quarterback struggled a little bit compared to where he was last year, but talk about that duo and how that kind of was what fueled them in their run last year, and how you can slow that, so that doesn't happen again, this week.
Yeah, they're very experienced. I mean, that's one thing. Having been here 9 years, that you see is, you play all those playoff games, and they had an opportunity to play a lot of extra playoff games. That's a ton of repetitions that those guys get, and it's more experience. So you're exactly right. Their quarterback and their running back, and some of those guys, the Maybanks, and some of those guys that are playing, they're skill guys, have had a ton of experience and are very comfortable within our system. So very much similar like Hillsdale with Glendenning and Misfit and the guys that they had out there too. They're very experienced in their system, and so that also going to provide a challenge, because they're probably not going to make a ton of mistakes in the offensive side of the ball.
Offensively, can you talk a little bit about what you did with the offensive line? I know there was a little bit, just from what I was listening to, there were some changes that were made, and is that something that you're going to continue on going forward with?
Exactly right. We made some changes up front. We had, heading into this game, we'd had 3 different guys playing tight end. We had John Camps, a little bit more on the line of scrimmage run blocker, and then Joe Worth did a little of both things. Obviously, Jamie Potts is a little bit more. We move him around the backfield, do some different things, but. And John Camps has been doing a good job. But John Camps is he's a redshirt freshman playing up front. He's just getting a little bit beat up, for lack of a better term. He's just physically beat up. And so we have Eric LeBoon kind of sitting on the sidelines, who has played well when he's gotten our time. So instead of having Eric sitting on the sidelines and kind of a little bit of a hobbled tight end, we made the move to put Tyler Moran at the tight end position and start Eric LeBoon. So it's just a move that you're looking at your best combination of people, your healthiest combination of people made the most sense. And so Tyler was able to make the transition because of his experience from the tackle to tight end position in the span of a week. And then Eric LeBoon slipped in at tackle. And then that also helped us take a little bit of pressure off Camps. He still played, but didn't have to play 60-some reps, and allow us to do some different things with Jamie Potts. And, we had a package. After the Northern Michigan game, we put in a package where we had Jamie Potts playing quarterback. He played quarterback in Muskegon Oak Ridge, and so we had that we used in the game also. Now, I wish he wouldn't have fumbled heading in at the one when we had him in there at the quarterback, but I think we're going to continue to look at that too, because he's made a lot of plays for us. Even after fumbling there, he came back, had a nice catch over the middle, the touchdown catch. He caught a catch on a wheel route, and as a redshirt freshman is making a lot of plays. So I think it's a change-up that we use to put him at the quarterback position that keeps defenses off balance, and that's something we're going to continue to do. And frankly, by having Tyler place him on the line tight end for us, that allows us to move Jamie around and do more of these things, because it gives a little bit more variability that we can use with our pieces up front.
Tyler came in as a tight end, didn't he? Did you recruit?
He was recruited as a tight end. Yeah, he came as tight end and was he's a good athlete, and has handled that well. So maybe at some point we get Coach Cato to throw him a ball, so we can legitimize his existence out there.
This one's for Andrew and Tim. Talking about the differences on the offensive line, that's kind of a group that's been pretty consistent in terms of the personnel throughout the season. When you have new guys coming in, guys who haven't had as much experience, how do you kind of make the machine keep moving without having any hiccups? Is there a way that you can kind of adjust quickly, or is that kind of just something that comes with reps and kind of being in the game?
Like we were saying, everyone in our room prepares like they're a starter. That's kind of the whole way on the offense. Like, if you come into a week, everyone is there to be there as a starter. Even if you're a backup, you come watch film. You do everything just as the starters do, so you're prepared if you have to come in. So everyone is prepared to be called upon. So it's not like it's a big deal for us if someone else comes in, but everyone is there prepared as a starter.
And then, Tim, this is a defense that likes to kind of gets penetration, that's gotten to the quarterback. after how you guys played last week, is there a way you can carry that into this week, knowing that you've got a defense that can get to the quarterback?
Yeah, I think we just got to keep going. We got to find ways, look at what type of different pressures they're going to give us, and what protections we need to get in to protect Grimes.
And then lastly, for all three of you, senior day, obviously it's big for you two because it's your senior day, and then for Mitch because it's your seniors. Is there any extra emotion that goes into that, and kind of, is it different from regular season game because it's your final home game?
Well, I think there's a lot of factors that are going to go into this game, and that's certainly different. One of them, I mean, the gravity of the game and where we're at in the season and what needs to take place is part of that. I mean, to be honest with you, we talked a little bit about we have a traveling trophy with Wayne State, and the last traveling trophy we had left the building. And I know these seniors that they don't want this trophy to leave the building. I think it's important to them too. So, Wayne State and Saginaw made it in the playoffs last year, and we didn't. And we've got both those teams coming up on our schedule. So there's a lot of things you can point to. Definitely our seniors, and in all probability, the last home game at Lubbers for our seniors. I think that it's going to be special for those guys too, because a lot of these guys have been here 4, 5, 6 years, been around a little bit, so it means a lot to these guys to be out there.
Well, yeah, like Coach Mitch was saying, it's definitely just going to be a big deal. Just, this might be our last game ever at Lubbers, running out that tunnel the first time you're a freshman, get all hyped up when you do that, and just this could be the last time you do that, so really going to kind of soak in. But going in preparing, it's going to be the same thing as just a normal game. Like, there is a lot of things on the line, but it's just a normal game for us.